Nole insiders Lane Hurt and Tim Linnefelt here with you high atop Doak Campbell Stadium. The schedule is out for 2017. Let's look at it and then we'll talk about it. Here you go, Seminole fans. We open, of course, September 2nd. Everyone knew we're in Atlanta, Georgia with the defending national runner-up Alabama Crimson Tide. And then the home schedule begins. 3 straight home games. ULM September 9th, September 16th, the Noles open ACC play against Miami. And on the 23rd, NC State comes to Tallahassee. On September 30th, the Noles hit the road for the first time at Wake Forest. Bye week on October 7th, and then another road trip to North Carolina, this time to take on Duke. October 21st, the Noles back home against the Lamar Jackson-led Louisville Cardinal. October 28th, a Friday game up in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts against BC. Watch the weather for that one. I know I will be, since I'll be on the field for that game. Then November 4th, at home against Syracuse. Then a big one, the defending national champions Clemson Tigers, November 11th. That should be the last conference game for both teams, could potentially decide the Atlantic Division. And then Delaware State back at home for the home finale. And then on the road, November 25th against the Florida Gators. Tim, what jumps out at you first when you look at this schedule?
Well, it's some things that I think we kind of already knew, but now we see it on paper, and this is a difficult schedule. Florida State faces both national finalists, and Alabama the runner-up, Clemson the national champion, and oh, by the way, you also get the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Lamar Jackson, coming to Tallahassee midway through the season. So this is not an easy schedule. I think we're going to know exactly what Florida State is made of in the first game this season when you play Alabama, and then it really doesn't get any easier from there. So it's definitely going to be a challenge. I think it's going to be exciting. There's a lot of fun, compelling games to watch. I think we've all wanted to see this FSU-Alabama matchup take place for several years. Jimbo Fisher versus Nick Saban as head coaches. It did happen once before when Jimbo Fisher was the offensive coordinator, but now that both programs are sort of at the height of their powers, both head coaches recognized among the best in the sport, to see those two open up in Atlanta, the first game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium up there, should be a lot of fun.
I don't want to slight anyone in the ACC because it's a great ACC slate, and they've proven that it's one of the best, if not the best, conference in America right now. But you look at the ACC opener and the ACC finisher as two really high-profile games, opening with your biggest rival in Miami and then closing with maybe your other biggest rival in Clemson.
Yeah, the Miami game jumped out at me. Obviously, there's been a few times when Florida State has opened the season with Miami, but I did a little quick iPhone research and found out that this is the earliest that Florida State has met Miami in a non-season opener since 1972, and that was also on September 16th. Florida State and Miami have never played earlier than September 16th when not opening a season. So a little bit of trivia there for you if you're into the historical things like me. So usually that game's a little bit later in the season. I think it's actually kind of cool to have Miami so early in the season. But again, man, you want to know what you're made of. Alabama, ULM, Miami in the first 3 weeks of the season. I mean, this is going to be a challenge.
And then you always look at a Thursday or Friday matchup and where Florida State might go with that one. Last year we won the lottery and were able to host that. Now back up to BC on a Friday night, end of October. Noles don't see a whole lot of cold weather games. This could be the exception to that rule this year. Yeah,
I think as you said, it's the latest they've been up there in quite some time, and who knows what the weather is going to be like there, but as the calendar creeps toward November, I suspect it will probably be colder than accustomed. 2 years ago when Florida State went to Boston College, it was still in September, and it was pretty balmy up there. I don't expect that to be the case this time. It's just another hurdle that Florida State's going to have to overcome in that game.
Anything else jump out to you when you take a look at the schedule?
Well, the bye week being placed in week 6, about halfway through, is definitely a good thing. I think that's kind of where you want it. But teams, we've asked them over the years, where is the ideal time for a bye week? And too early, that doesn't do you any favors down the road, and too late, you're too banged up for it to do you any good when you get there. So week 6, I think, is a good time. The only thing that stands out to me is it does come between road trips to Wake Forest and Duke. Obviously, if you're Florida State, you really like for that bye week to come before the Clemson game, but that sets you up for an issue where I think the ACC wants to have that Florida State-Clemson game later in the season to preserve as much drama as possible in the Atlantic Division race. But if you do that, then it's hard to have your bye week then, because then you're not having it until 8 or 9 weeks into the season, and you would prefer to have it earlier. So something's got to give there, and in this case, the bye week comes between 2 road trips to North Carolina.
There you have it, Seminole fans. Your first look at the 2017 football schedule. All of your ticket information can be found at the ticket link on Seminoles.com, so make sure you go there, get your questions answered, and make sure you're inside Doak Campbell Stadium this year to support your Noles. So for Tim, I'm Lane. Go Noles.